Let us look at a scenario you have likely lived through, or perhaps watched from the sidelines while another man failed the test. It is late evening. A man and a woman are seated at a high-top table in a semi-private environment. Ostensibly, they are colleagues or acquaintances catching up. If you were to look at the transcript of their conversation, you would see nothing but professional platitudes, logical exchange, or mild friendly banter. She's saying that she needs to get home soon. She's checking the time. She is mentioning her obligations for the next day. The verbal data says stop. But if you mute the audio and look at the raw footage, a completely different reality emerges. Her body is not angled toward the exit. Her knees are pointed directly at him. She has exposed her neck 3 times in the last minute. The physical space between them has shrunk from 2 feet to 6 inches. She is not leaving. In fact, she is waiting. This is the dissonance. This is where the majority of men lose. You have been conditioned by a modern, sanitized society to prioritize the verbal channel. You believe that language is the primary vector of truth, that you are wrong. Language is a social construct used for safety, plausibility, and negotiation. Behavior is the biological reality. Today we are going to dissect a specific case study, a story of high-value signals missed by a low-awareness observer. We will look at how a woman screams her desire without uttering a single syllable, and why biology demands that she keeps her mouth shut while her body speaks volumes. Evolution does not care about your politeness, it cares about genetic fitness, and part of that fitness is the ability to decode the unspoken. If you cannot hear the silence, you do not get to participate in the exchange. Welcome to the analysis. Let us deepen the analysis of the scenario introduced in the hook. The man in our story, let's call him the passive observer, waited. He waited for a verbal invitation. He waited for a sentence that sounded like, "I am attracted to you. Let's go somewhere private." He went home alone. He later found out through mutual channels that the woman was confused and annoyed. She felt rejected. To the passive observer, this was baffling. He thought he was being respectful. He thought he was playing by the rules of modern engagement. His error was fundamental. He was playing a game of law, while she was playing a game of biology. To understand why this happens, we must dissect the concept of plausible deniability. In the sexual marketplace, information is currency, but explicit information is expensive. For a woman, verbally declaring sexual intent carries a massive inflationary risk to her social value. Despite modern cultural shifts, the biological and sociological burden of reputation management remains heavy. In evolutionary terms, female reproductive value is historically tied to selectivity. To be perceived as indiscriminately available is to lower one's value in the marketplace. Therefore, the female imperative is to secure the highest value mate while maintaining the highest possible social standing. This creates a conflict. She feels the biological urge, the lust. Her body is reacting to the presence of a potential mate, but her social programming and evolutionary safety mechanisms impose a firewall. She cannot simply announce her desire. If she vocalizes her lust and is rejected, she suffers a double loss, the pain of rejection and the degradation of her social capital. She risks being labeled, judged, or losing leverage in the courtship dynamic, so she utilizes plausible deniability. This is a behavioral hedge. She will broadcast her interest on a frequency that is deniable in a court of law, but undeniable to the biological instincts of a calibrated man. If she touches your arm and you recoil, she was just emphasizing a point. If she holds eye contact too long and you look away, she was just thinking. If she leans into your personal space and you step back, she was just trying to hear you better. And every signal of lust is wrapped in a layer of innocent excuse. This is not duplicity. It is a safety protocol. The real story here is not just about the man who missed the signs. It is about the woman's frustration with a man who refused to take the risk she offered him. When a woman signals lust non-verbally, she's effectively outsourcing the risk of rejection to you. She is opening a door, but she will not walk through it first. She requires you to walk through it. She needs you to interpret the signal and escalate the interaction. If you misinterpret it and make a move when she wasn't interested, you take the social hit. You are the creep or the guy who misread the room. She remains safe. However, if you are calibrated, if you have the pattern recognition skills we discuss here, you accept that transfer of risk. You recognize the signal, you act on it, and the transaction proceeds. By waiting for verbal confirmation, the passive observer in our story was essentially asking the woman to take on the masculine role of risk initiator. He was asking her to drop her shield of plausible deniability. Most women, especially high-value women who are used to men understanding these dynamics, will simply lose attraction at that moment. The lust evaporates because the man failed the first competence test, the ability to read the room. We must also look at the economic concept of signaling theory. In biology, honest signals are those that are hard to fake. Speech is cheap. Anyone can say, "I like you." It costs 0 calories and requires 0 commitment, but physiological responses, pupil dilation, flushing, unconscious mirroring, breaking the touch barrier are costly signals. They are often involuntary or require a suspension of personal boundaries that feels risky. When a woman engages in these behaviours, she is spending biological currency. She is exposing herself, quite literally, to your judgment. The passive observer failed because he overvalued the cheap signal words and undervalued the expensive signal behaviour. He was looking for a contract when he should have been looking for a pulse. This is a critical distinction in the US dating market. The culture is litigious and verbal, but attraction remains primal and silent. The dissonance causes men to freeze. They are terrified of the HR department logic applied to the bedroom. But you must understand that in the context of genuine attraction, the woman wants you to override the polite fiction. She wants you to see the reality she is projecting. When she maintains eye contact for that extra second, she is screaming at you. When she exposes the vulnerable parts of her body, the neck, the inner wrists, she is submitting to your potential advance. When she isolates herself with you, moving away from the safety of the group, she is creating the vacuum for you to fill. These are not hints, they are solicitations, but they are solicitations written in a code that protects the sender. The tragedy of our real story is that the attraction was mutual. The potential for a profound connection was there, but it died in the silence. It died because one party was broadcasting on FM and the other was listening for AM. She went home thinking he wasn't interested or wasn't man enough to act. He went home thinking she was just being friendly. The biological reality was wasted. To navigate this, you must stop listening to the surface level noise. You must stop waiting for a notarized letter of consent before you even flirt. You need to understand the mechanism of the soft no and the hard yes of the body. In the next section, we are going to break down the specific taxonomy of these signals. We are going to move from the theory of why she stays silent to the practical observation of what that silence looks like when it is screaming with desire. We will categorize the micro-expressions, the ocular dynamics, and the haptics that differentiate a polite colleague from a woman in lust. We now move from diagnosis to taxonomy. We are going to categorize the biological indicators of lust. This is not about guessing, this is about data collection. When a human female experiences high arousal or genuine desire, her autonomic nervous system triggers a cascade of physiological responses. These are largely involuntary. While she can control her words, controlling her micro-expressions, her blood flow, and her subconscious motor functions requires a level of training most people do not possess. We will divide these patterns into 3 primary domains: ocular dynamics, haptics and proxemics, and behavioral mirroring. Let us begin with ocular dynamics. The eyes are the only part of the central nervous system directly visible to the outside world. They are the most high bandwidth channel for nonverbal communication. The first and most critical metric is pupil dilation. In the 1960s, Eckhard Hess conducted studies on pupillometry, revealing that pupils dilate not only in low light, but in response to emotional arousal and interest. When she looks at you, if her pupils expand, her brain is attempting to take in more data. She is visually consuming you. This is an autonomic response. She cannot fake it. In a brightly lit room, if her eyes look dark and expansive, that is a biological green light. Beyond dilation, we must analyze the gaze pattern. Social gazing typically forms a triangle between your eyes and your nose. It is polite and non-threatening. Intimate gazing shifts the triangle downwards. She will look from your eyes to your mouth, and then perhaps lower to your neck or chest, before returning to your eyes. This is the intimate sweep. When she looks at your lips, her brain is subconsciously simulating the act of kissing. It is a precursor to physical intimacy. There is also the prolonged gaze and break pattern. In a standard social interaction, eye contact breaks are random. In a dynamic of lust, the break is specific. She will hold your gaze for a fraction of a second longer than is socially comfortable, creating tension, and then she will break contact. Watch how she breaks it. If she looks up or to the side, it might be distraction. If she looks down and then sweeps back up to you, this is a submissive signal of attraction. It exposes the eyelids, a display of vulnerability, and then re-engages to check if you noticed. This is the biological equivalent of a bow. Next, we move to Proxemics and haptic space and touch. Anthropologist Edward T. Hall defined the intimate zone as the space within 18 inches of the body. This is a protected perimeter. We only allow threats or lovers into this zone. When a woman is feeling lust, she will manufacture reasons to breach this perimeter. In our real story, the said woman didn't just sit there. She leaned in, she minimized the distance. If you are standing, she might step into your arc. If you are sitting, she might angle her legs so her knees encroach on your space. This is a territorial invasion designed to test your reaction. Within this zone, we look for haptics, the sense of touch. The most common signal of plausible deniability is the accidental touch. Her knee grazes yours under the table. Her arm brushes yours as she points at something. If she apologizes profusely and retracts immediately, it was likely an accident. If she leaves the contact, or if she retracts slowly without verbal apology, it is a signal. She is testing the electric fence. She wants to see if you recoil or if you lean into the contact. A more advanced haptic signal is preening or grooming. In primate societies, grooming is a primary bonding mechanism. If she reaches out to pick a piece of lint off your jacket, fixes your collar, or smooths your hair, she is claiming you, she is performing a mate care behavior. This is highly intimate. A colleague does not groom you, a mate grooms you. Conversely, watch for self-soothing or self-preening. When arousal hits, the skin becomes more sensitive. She may stroke her own neck, play with her hair, or touch her lips. This is a displacement activity. Her nervous energy, the lust, needs a physical outlet. By drawing attention to her neck or lips, she is also subconsciously highlighting erogenous zones, directing your eyes to where she wants your attention. The third domain is behavioral mirroring, or postural echoing. This is a deep brain synchronization phenomenon. When two people are in high rapport, their neurons fire in similar patterns, leading to identical physical behavior. If you lean forward, she leans forward. If you take a drink, she takes a drink. If you cross your leg, she crosses hers. This isopraxism indicates that her focus is entirely locked onto you. She is biologically tuned to your frequency. In a dating context, if you shift your body language and she follows within seconds, you have established the lead. She is following your frame. This is a powerful indicator of compliance and interest. However, we must apply a rigorous filter here to separate friendliness from lust. This is where the marketplace value assessment comes in. High social value women are often charismatic and warm. They touch arms and smile. How do you tell the difference? You look for the cluster and the baseline deviation. The baseline is how she treats everyone else. Does she touch the waiter's arm? Does she laugh loudly with the male receptionist? If she is tactile with everyone, her touch means less. It is just her social persona. But if she is cool, professional, or reserved with the room, but becomes tactile, expansive, and dilated with you, that is a deviation. That is the signal. You must also look for the cluster. 1 signal is an anomaly, 2 is a coincidence, 3 is a pattern. Pupil dilation alone might just mean it is dark, but pupil dilation plus the intimate gaze sweep plus a breach of the 18-inch distance zone. That is a cluster. That is statistical significance. The probability of that combination happening by accident is near 0. We must also discuss the concept of submission signals. And in the evolutionary dance, even the most powerful modern woman will often display submissive cues when attracted to a man she perceives as higher value. This includes the head tilt, which exposes the carotid artery, the most vulnerable part of the neck. It is a primal display of trust and surrender. It includes the shoulder shrug combined with open palms, signaling, I am unarmed, I am open. These are not signs of weakness, they are signs of biological receptivity. She is lowering her defenses to allow you to enter. There is also a microsignal often missed. The object placement. Watch how she interacts with the physical objects between you. The cups, the phone, the menu. If she places objects as a barrier between you, she is defensive. If she moves objects aside to create a clear, open channel of space between her torso and yours, she is removing obstacles, she is clearing the path. It is a subtle, subconscious housekeeping of the immediate environment to facilitate intimacy. Finally, consider the paralinguistics, the vocal signals. It is not just about what she says, but how she says it. Research suggests that when a woman speaks to a man she is attracted to, her pitch may actually drop slightly, becoming breathier and more modulated. This is the bedroom voice. It differs from the high-pitched, excited squeak of platonic friendliness. The speech rate often slows down. She is lingering in the interaction. Friendliness is efficient. Lust is inefficient. Friendliness wants to get the point across. Lust wants to prolong the experience. If she is taking a long time to say very little, she is buying time to be in your presence. In the story of our passive observer, all these data points were present. The woman adjusted her chair to face him fully ventral fronting. She played with the stem of her wine glass displacement activity. She stopped checking her phone exclusion of outside world. She laughed at jokes that were not funny validation of male status. She waited. The cluster was screaming, yes. But he was waiting for the verbal contract. He failed to read the taxonomy. He looked at the forest and didn't see the trees. To master this, you must become a clinical observer of human behavior. You must detach your ego from the outcome and look at the raw data. Is the pupil dilated? Is the neck exposed? Is the distance closing? These are the metrics of the market. They do not lie. Words can be manipulated, but the autonomic nervous system is honest. Learn to read the taxonomy, and you will see a world of opportunity that was previously invisible to you. You will stop listening to the polite fiction and start seeing the biological truth. We have diagnosed the behavior and we have classified the signals. Now we must address the burning question that plagues the logical male mind. Why? Why is this necessary? Why can she not simply say what she wants? Why must we engage in this complex dance of subtle cues and plausible deniability? You might feel this is inefficient. You might feel it is manipulative, but nature does not care about your desire for efficiency. Nature cares about genetic filtering, and what you perceive as a frustrating game is actually a sophisticated evolutionary filter designed to keep you out if you're not qualified. To understand this, we must look at parental investment theory. In the history of our species, the cost of a reproductive error for a male was biologically negligible, a few minutes of time and a few calories. The cost for a female was astronomical, 9 months of gestation, the high risk of childbirth, and years of nursing and child rearing. Because the investment is so heavily skewed, the female sex evolved to be the gatekeeper. She is the selector. The male is the auditioner. Because the stakes are so high for her, she requires a partner who possesses not just good genes, but high social intelligence and the ability to protect and provide. But how does she test for these traits? She cannot give you a written exam. She cannot ask you to fill out a resume. Instead, she tests your ability to read the environment. This brings us to the concept of the competence test. The ability to decode nonverbal signals is a direct proxy for social calibration. In a tribal environment, a man who could not read the subtle shifts in the group's mood, the silent threats from a rival male, or the unspoken needs of his partner was a liability. He was a danger to the tribe and a danger to her offspring. If you're socially blind, you're likely to get yourself or your family killed or ostracized. So, when a woman projects these silent signals of lust, she is running a simulation. She is asking, is this man calibrated enough to understand me without words? If you need her to verbally explicitly state, I want to kiss you, you are demonstrating that you lack the intuition and the confidence to read the situation yourself. You are outsourcing the leadership of the interaction to her. In the biological marketplace, this is a fatal error. It signals that you are not the leader, you are the follower. And biologically, women do not lust after followers. This is why the just ask for consent narrative, while legally and ethically sound in a corporate or stranger context, often kills the vibe in a seduction context. It is not that consent is unimportant, it is paramount, but the method of establishing consent matters. A high-value man establishes consent by reading the nonverbal green light and escalating incrementally, constantly checking for the red light. He reads the feedback loop. He does not stop the car to ask for directions, he navigates the road. Consider the alternative. If a woman has to verbally guide you through the seduction process, she is essentially playing the role of the mother teaching a child. Put your hand here. Kiss me now. This dynamic destroys polarity. Sexual polarity relies on the tension between the masculine drive pursuit, structure, risk, and the feminine drive invitation, flow, surrender, When you force her to verbalize her lust, you force her into the masculine role of the initiator, you force her into the structure. The polarity collapses, and with it, the arousal. Furthermore, we must address the social safety mechanism. We mentioned earlier that women avoid direct verbal escalation to protect their reputation, but there is another layer. She is protecting herself from you. If she verbally rejects a man, there is a risk of aggressive retaliation. If she verbally propositions a man, there is a risk he is a predator who will take advantage of that openness without offering commitment or safety. By using nonverbal signals, she maintains a buffer. If she signals and you escalate, and she decides she doesn't like it, she can pull back with a nonverbal stop or a soft rejection. It keeps the interaction fluid and safe. If she puts it in writing verbally, the contract is rigid. Nature prefers fluidity because fluidity allows for rapid reassessment of safety and value. The harsh reality of the dating marketplace is that the creep and the charmer are often doing the exact same physical actions. The difference is calibration. The creep touches a woman who is signaling no closed body language, looking away. The charmer touches a woman who is signaling yes, dilated pupils, proximity, grooming, meaning. The action is the same, the context is different. The woman relies on you to know the difference. If you don't, you're a social risk. Many men complain that this system is unfair. They say, I am a good guy. I am logical. Why do I have to play mind reader? This mindset is a refusal to accept the reality of the species you are trying to attract. You are trying to apply the logic of a computer program to a biological organism driven by hormones and millions of years of survival instinct. It is like complaining that the ocean is wet. The ocean does not care if you want it to be dry. You either learn to swim or you drown. In this context, swimming means developing the courage to act on ambiguity. The passive observer in our story wanted certainty. He wanted a guarantee before he invested his risk. But in economics and in dating, high reward only comes with risk. The woman signaled lust, which was an invitation to risk. She was saying, I am giving you a probable chance of success, but you still have to take the jump. By refusing to jump without a safety net of words, he proved he was not risk tolerant. In the evolutionary past, a risk-averse man did not secure the resources or the status needed to support a family. He was bred out of the gene pool, so when you see these signals, the dilated eyes, the exposed neck, the lingering touch, understand that you are being presented with a biological test. It is a binary pass-fail, pass, and you gain access to intimacy and connection. Fail, and you are relegated to the friend zone or the nice guy category. The friend zone is simply a parking lot for men who provide social utility but failed the sexual competence test. The evolutionary imperative is clear. The woman provides the access, the signal, and the man provides the movement, the action. She opens the door, you walk through. She does not drag you through. She does not announce the door is open over a loudspeaker. She simply unlocks it and waits. If you are too busy looking for a welcome sign, you will stand outside in the cold forever. This is not cruelty. This is the rigorous quality control of the human gene pool at work. We have stripped away the social veneer and exposed the biological machinery. Now, we must rebuild you. The passive observer in our story failed because he was reactive. He waited for the world to happen to him. To win in the marketplace, you must become proactive. You must develop the sight. This is not mystical intuition. It is a learned clinical skill of observation and calibration. Here is the operational protocol to convert you from a listener into a seer. Phase 1. Establish the baseline. Before you can detect a signal, you must understand the noise. The moment you enter an interaction, a date, a meeting, a party, your first job is data collection. Do not focus on does she like me yet? Focus on how does she exist? Observe her interaction with neutrals. How does she talk to the bartender? How does she sit when she is bored? Is she naturally touchy-feely with her female friends? Is she loud or quiet? This is her baseline. If she touches everyone on the arm, a touch on your arm means nothing. It is noise. If she is naturally shy and avoids eye contact with everyone, but holds eye contact with you, that is data. You cannot identify the deviation, the signal, without first establishing the baseline, the norm. Phase 2. Identify the cluster. Amateurs look for one sign, professionals look for a cluster. A single signal can be an anomaly, a cluster is a statement. Adopt the rule of 3. Do not escalate your behavior until you have registered at least 3 distinct biological markers from the taxonomy we discussed. A marker 1, she isolates herself with you. Proximity. Marker 2, she exposes her neck while laughing vulnerability. Marker 3, her pupils are dilated in a lit room. Autonomic arousal. Once you have the triad, the probability of misinterpretation drops significantly. You have your green light. Phase 3, the calibration. Test, soft escalation. You have the signal, now you must act, but you do not act by jumping to the finish line, you act by testing the water. This is called soft escalation. It is a method of asking for consent non-verbally. The proximity test. Lean in, cut the distance by 20%, do not touch her yet, just invade the space. Does she lean back, red light? Does she hold her ground, yellow light? Or does she lean in to meet you, green light? The haptic test, break the touch barrier in a safe zone. The back of the tricep, the shoulder, or the outer hand, these are non-sexual zones. Touch briefly to emphasize a point, then pull back. This is crucial. Pull back, you are testing her reaction to the loss of your touch. If she pursues, the touch leans closer, touches you back, she is confirming the signal. The optical test. When the conversation lulls, do not rush to fill the silence with words. Hold the silence, hold her gaze, shift your focus to her lips, then back to her eyes. This triangle gaze is a direct question. If she holds the gaze and smiles, or looks down and smiles, the answer is yes. Phase 4, maintaining the frame. The most critical part of this solution is your internal state. You must operate from a position of non-outcome independence. This means you're observing the data, but you're not desperate for a specific result. If you test the waters and get a red light, she leans away. She uncrosses her legs away from you. You do not apologize. You do not panic. You simply recalibrate. You lean back. You return to the verbal channel. You respect the boundary immediately, but you do it without shame. The man who panics when he misreads a signal is the man who makes it creepy. The man who misreads a signal, notes the data, and calmly adjusts his behavior is simply a man interacting with the world. Understand that she wants you to pass this test. The woman in our story was waiting for the man to escalate. She was giving him the answers to the exam. When you develop the sight, you realize that women are constantly communicating their desires. They're just broadcasting on a frequency that requires you to tune out your own ego and tune into their biology. Stop listening to the words she uses to fill the silence. Look at the silence itself. Is it charged? Is it magnetic? Is it pulling you in? If the data says yes, do not ask for permission to believe it. Belief is your prerogative. Action is your responsibility. The tragedy of modern dating is not a lack of interest. It is a lack of translation. We have the real story of a man and a woman who wanted each other, yet walked away strangers because they were speaking different languages. He was speaking social contract. She was speaking biological imperative. Do not let this be your story. The world is full of noise, of polite fictions and social safeguards, but underneath that noise beats the drum of evolution, ancient, rhythmic, and undeniable. Your duty as a man is to stop being deafened by the words and start seeing the music. When you prioritize mind before skin, you realize that the skin is just the display. The mind is the operating system. When she shows you her lust without saying a word, she is offering you the highest form of compliment. She trusts you to understand her nature. Honor that trust, read the signs, take the risk. If you have ever been the passive observer, or if you have a story where you successfully read the silence, share it in the comments. We are building a database of reality here. Subscribe to sharpen your sight. Until next time, look closer.